Hello, my name is Mark Parker, and I'm the Assistant Director of Intramural Sports here at East Carolina University. We would like to welcome you to our team registration meeting video, as we will go over our policies and procedures and the instructions on how to sign up a team for intramural sports throughout the season. We have lots of different ways for you to keep in contact with us via phone, email, web. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter as we send out lots of updates and interesting facts throughout the sports seasons for you to keep in contact with us to find out what's going on. The intramural sports administrative staff is as follows: myself, Mark Parker, who is the Assistant Director of Intramural Sports; John Wall, who is our Professional Staff Coordinator of Intramural Sports; and our three students, Stephen Schultz, Taylor Quinn Yancey, and Nick Lewis. You can contact any one of us in the office, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have about the intramural sports program. We here at Intramural Sports hope that not only will you have a great time participating in recreational and competitive environments through our sports and activities that we offer. We also hope that you are able to develop other lifelong characteristics such as healthy lifestyles, social and physical well-being, leadership skills that will help you develop in your future goals and aspirations. As an intramural sports captain and team representative, you are responsible to be familiar with all of our policies and procedures and to communicate them to your teammates and spectators. We do not expect you to know all of them, but we do expect you to be familiar with them and able to locate them on our website located at ecu.edu/intramuralsports. If you have any questions in regards to any specific rule or interpretation, please contact the Intramural Sports office, and we will make a judgment on each particular situation based on the policies and procedures found at the website. As you can see from the screen in front of you, these are some of the basic, most important responsibilities of a captain and team representative. Number one, you should be checking your playing schedules on the web or outside of Fitness Studio Room 240 within the Student Rec Center and communicating those dates and times to your teammates and spectators. It is also encouraged that you promote fair play and good sportsmanship from you, your teammates, and spectators. Another key responsibility is to ensure that players are present at game time, as game time is forfeit time within the intramural sports program. It also is imperative that you ensure that each player possess a proper identification for them to participate at each game. And we will get to those specifics a little bit later on in the presentation. You will also represent your team in all actions related to intramural participation, including protest, any disciplinary matters, any reschedule requests, forfeits, defaults, and any other situation that may arise during each sports season. Also, as an intramural sports captain, we would like to make you aware of the assumption of risk policy within campus recreation and wellness and the intramural sports area. We would like to inform you and all of your teammates and participants that participation is completely voluntary, and we do not accept any responsibilities for injuries received during participation. If you have any specific questions, please contact the Intramural Sports Department office at 252-328-1567, or you can email us at imsports@ecu.edu.
For the league formats, we have Greek, which is fraternity and sorority, and then we have men's, women's, and co-rec. If you play for a fraternity team or a sorority team, you cannot play for another men's or women's team. you're only allowed to play for one's men's or women's team. So a fraternity team is considered a men's team, and a sorority is considered a women's team. There's typically some confusion with that. So if you decide that you want to play in a fraternity, on a fraternity team, you will not be allowed to play men's in that sport, but you will be allowed to play co-rec. Same thing with sorority and women's. We also have the men's open division. Anyone can play in the men's open division. That is a male, as long as they're not playing already for a fraternity team. We do break up the divisions into gold and purple after the regular season for some of the major team sports, and typically it's if you win 5 games or 4 games, you are in the gold league. In the purple league, as long as you win 1 game, and typically have up to 3 wins, then you're in the purple league. And this kind of separates it and evens up the playing field for playoffs. And then if we have individual dual games, then we will separate them. We might separate them at sign up, so you can go ahead and sign for a gold league, which is more advanced and competitive, and then purple is more recreational. Purple gold format, we covered this a little bit already, but in regards to team sports, typically we use a number of wins to divide who plays in purple and who plays in gold. Typically it's as long as you win 4 games, you will be in the gold league, and as long as you have between 1 and 3 wins, you'll be in the purple league. It depends really on the number of teams that we have, so we may change it depending on the number of teams that have those records. So it's not set in stone that you have to have 4 wins. Sometimes we might have, if you have 3 wins or more, then you are in the gold league, and everyone else is in the purple league as long as they have 1 win. Typically, purple is recreational and gold is competitive based on the rankings and the individual dual sports. Facility uses, we will be using Blunt Fields, Christianberry Gym, Student Recreation Center, and the North Rec Complex. Each specific sport, obviously, is going to be in one of those locations, and you can check the info sheet to see whichever sport you're interested in playing, to see which facility you are planning on using. Also, some of the complexes have university-registered parking. For example, at Blunt Fields, you have to have a parking sticker in order to park in that parking lot. It's the same as Christianberry Gym and the Student Recreation Center. North Rec Complex, you do not have to have a parking permit, so just be aware of that. But those are the different places that we will play. So just make sure that anytime that you play a sport, you check the info sheet and know where you will be playing your specific sport. Practice times for the different facilities. We have the North Rec Complex is open from 8 a.m. until dusk. The Student Recreation Center is open for free play, and there are not reservations that you can make for that, but you can practice if there is a court available. For Christianberry, you will need to contact Dean Morris at morrisw@ecu.edu for reservations, and then Blunt is open for practice from 8 a.m. until dusk if space is available and weather permitting, and that's the same for the North Rec Complex as well. Who can play? Current students as well as current faculty and staff, and then spouses and partners of current faculty and staff or students are allowed to play. If a spouse and partner play, it must be a co-rec team, and the spouse and partner must be on that co-rec team. Faculty and staff, if they do not already have a student recreation center membership, they must purchase a limited pass for $15 in room 128 of the Student Recreation Center. And also, if any students are taking web-based classes and are not paying student fees, they also must pay a $15 fee in order to use the rec center as well as participate in intramural sports. A question that's normally asked is, can Pitt community students play intramurals if they pay the pass? That is not the case. You have to be a current student, and you have to be a faculty and staff in order to be able to play. Spouse partner, a partnership is defined as a personal relationship between 2 individuals who live together at the same address and share a common domestic life for no less than 12 months. Proof of documentation must be submitted to the intramural sports office prior to purchasing a limited pass. Documents may include, but not limited to, joint bank statements, joint bills, joint contracts. So the most important thing is, if in regards to spouse partners, that you must be living together in a romantic relationship. This does not have to do with roommates. This is someone that you are sharing bills with, or you're in a romantic relationship with, and that you've been doing so for 12 months, and you may be asked to prove, show documentation. If you have any questions, just give us a call at the Intramural Sports Office, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. For the ID policy, ID checks will be made prior to all games, and so you must have an ID. If you are on the roster, you just need an ID. As long as you have an ID and you're on the roster, we already know that you're an ECU student. You do not have to have your one card. You just need to have an ID. If someone is not on the roster, then they must have a one card and a banner ID in order to add to the roster. So if someone's coming that is not on the roster, they must have their one card. They cannot just bring another ID. They must have a one card and they must remember their banner. If they are not on the roster and they do not have their one card, they must have a picture ID, a class schedule, and on that class schedule they must have their banner ID or they must remember their banner ID. And so just remember all that. Everyone that comes must have some sort of ID. If they are adding to the team, they must either have a one card or they have to have a class schedule with a form of identification in order to add to the roster. Alcohol and substance policy pretty much goes without saying. You cannot come to intramural sports under the influence of alcohol, and you cannot bring alcohol with you. If we see that you're under the influence, you will be asked to leave and will be ejected from the game that you're participating in. And if you come as a spectator, or any one of your spectators comes, then they will have to leave the facility immediately. Forfeits. In regards to forfeits, game time is forfeit time, and so you need to make sure that your team is on time. You must be able to play promptly at game time. If you are not there on time, the other team has the option of taking the win at that point. So if, let's say that Team A is not there and Team B is there, Team B has two options. Team B can either take the win at the time of the forfeit if there's no one there, or there is not enough people for Team A to fill the team, or Team B can wait up to 10 minutes for Team A to show up. If Team B decides to wait the entire 10 minutes, then they must wait the full 10 minutes and cannot decide after 5 minutes to take the forfeit. So they must wait the 10 minutes, and 10 minutes will come off of the clock. If there are two teams that don't show up, then the clock will automatically start, and we will wait 10 minutes to make sure that both teams show up. And then if a team, let's say that Team A this time shows up after 5 minutes and have enough to play, and Team B does not after 10 minutes, then Team A will win. If your team does forfeit, if you do not have the minimum number of players to start, or you don't show up at all, you will be charged a $20 forfeit fee as a captain. And so that is your responsibility to make sure that everyone shows up. And so it's very important that you tell them the correct time, and maybe even a little bit earlier, so you can make sure that you have everyone there in order to avoid any forfeit. All right, we're going to talk about defaults. And we just talked about forfeits, and this is a way that you guys can avoid forfeits. If you know that you're not going to have enough people, or if something's going on, you cannot reschedule, then we do have a default option. So what needs to happen is that on our website, and this is a change from the last couple of years, we actually have a default form now. So when you default a game, you will go to the website and you will fill out a default form. Now, just because you fill out a default form doesn't mean that you get a default. It has to be by the appropriate time. So you must go to the reschedule and default portion of the website, click on that, and then fill out a default form, and it has to be by 3 p.m. the day of the game. If it is a Sunday game, it must be filed by noon on the previous Friday. So once again, just because you fill out a default form does not mean that the game gets defaulted, because if you do it 10 minutes before the game, it's not going to count. You must do it by 3 p.m. the day of the game, or if it's a Sunday game, you must do it by noon on Friday. And if you do call in default if you do submit a default form by the proper time, we will let the other team know, and they won't show up, and you will not be charged a forfeit fee. Now remember, you only get two defaults per sport, or a combination of one forfeit and one default total. So you can only use this one time, but it will eliminate any issues in regards to forfeits if there's one time that you cannot show up. Now, once a game is defaulted, the game result is final. So if you default a game and then for some reason we cancel games due to rain, you're still going to lose the game. So once you default it, the game result is final. We're going to talk about a drop fee. In regards to a drop fee, if you create a team and you realize that your team can no longer participate, we ask that you let us know immediately before the schedules go up. If you do not let us know and you have a team that you registered for and the schedules go up and we plan on you showing up, and then you let us know that you cannot participate, then we will charge you a $20 drop fee. Now, if we can find another team to replace you, within that spot, then we will not charge you the fee. But if we do not have anybody else to fill that fee, then we will charge you the $20 due to the fact that we have a hole in the schedule that we have to pay officials for. And so it's important to make sure that if you know that you're not going to have enough people on a team, let us know before the schedules go up and before the end of the registration deadline, and so we can plan accordingly. Okay, the rescheduling process has changed for those that have been captains a while. It's different than it's been in years past. The rescheduling process now is completely online, and so we do not have a situation where people can come in or call by the phone unless it's a special situation. We have a reschedule form that is now on the website. If you need a reschedule, just come and fill out the form online, and we will get the form, and then we will send you the information of the opposing captain as well as any reschedule information that you need. Now, once you get that information, you'll need to contact the opposing captain and see if they can switch to one of those times. Once you guys both agree on a time, you both need to send an email. So you will need to send an email saying that you've agreed to the time as well as the other captain. Once the sport manager receives that, then we will send you a confirmation email with the finalized reschedule information. Now, in regards to when you have to do this reschedule process, is that the process must be finalized by 5 p.m. of the day prior. So if you have a Thursday game, you must finalize the reschedule by Wednesday. The biggest thing is, as long as you get the process started, we're going to work with you, but we can't have a situation where you submit a reschedule form the day of the game when you have plenty of time to let us know. As long as you start the process before 5 p.m. the day of the game, or excuse me, 5 p.m. the day before the game, we're going to work with you, but you just need to make sure that you do this in enough time and before one day in advance, and make sure that you go online and fill out the reschedule form. Now, you all are only allowed 2 reschedule forms for the entire sports season, including playoffs. So just be aware of that. But use this to your advantage if you know you cannot show up, and fill out a form, because we want to avoid defaults and forfeits if at all possible. Protest policy. There are 2 reasons for a protest. First is player eligibility. And if for some reason that you feel like there's someone not eligible based on that, maybe they're a professional athlete, maybe they're a collegiate athlete, or if they have too many club players on the team, for whatever reason, if you want to protest that, then you need to identify who is ineligible and why, and let us know the day of the game or right before, and we can look into that protest. The only other protest is rule interpretation. This is not judgment. So there is kind of some people don't understand the difference between rule interpretation and judgment, and there is definitely a big difference. So rule interpretation means that you guys agree on what happened on the play, but you disagree on the way that the rule should be interpreted. So, for example, let's say that in basketball you have a play where someone is dribbling the ball and they step out of bounds, and you say to the referee they're out of bounds because they stepped on the line. And the official says, I saw them step on the line, but the rule is that you can step on the line. You have to step completely over in order to be out. So this is not a judgment call. You both agree on what happened on the play. However, this is a rule interpretation. You both are interpreting the rule different. In this situation, that would be a protestable rule in which you could say that the rule has been misinterpreted and it's a mistake in the rule interpretation of the official. If it was a situation where you thought that the player stepped on the line and the official thought the player did not step on the line, that is a judgment call and cannot be protested. If you want to protest, a protest form must be filled out immediately. So if there's a play that you disagree with in regards to the rule interpretation, you need to say, I want to protest, and at that point immediately stop the game. Don't go any farther and go ahead and fill out a protest form. If you wait until after the game, it's too late. It must be done right then. Okay, team names. We've had an issue with team names over the last couple of years. They must be appropriate, and so if they are not appropriate and we see that they do not fit our criteria, then we will send you an email saying that your team name has been changed to your name, and then we will allow you one more time to send us a proper name. If not, then we'll just keep your name as the team's name. And so some issues that we've had before: you cannot have any profanity, sexual innuendo, racial slurs, or alcohol-related names. And you guys are pretty creative. Some have gotten biased before, but we do take a look at them each sport. And so just be aware that we're looking at those, and you cannot have any of those 4 examples as a team name, or it will be changed. Okay, proper uniforms and jewelry. The biggest thing in regards to proper uniforms and jewelry throughout intramural sports is that you need to make sure that jewelry is not allowed in any of our sports. And so any earrings, any bracelets, any type of jewelry is not allowed in intramural sports. And so just make sure that all of your players know that jewelry is not allowed. And depending on the sport, there are different type of requirements for attire. So, for example, in flag football, you cannot have pockets, and you're not allowed to have metal cleats in any of our field sports. Shoes must be worn at all times in any sport except for sand volleyball. So, just depending on the sport, you need to make sure that you look at the rules for each sport and make sure there are not any uniform clarifications that you need. Also, you can wear a religious medallion, but they must be taped to the body, and also medical alert bracelets must be taped as well. But all other type of uniforms must be taken off, and you cannot place tape or band-aids over jewelry either.
As we continue with this team registration meeting, we would like to let you know, as the captain and the team representative for your intramural sports team, the importance of sportsmanship. Sportsmanship is expected of all participants, captains, and spectators. Unacceptable or low sportsmanship can indeed affect your playoff seeding. It can also allow you to be removed from a particular sports season. In intramural sports, there's 3 ratings that we follow, 3 being the acceptable rating, 2 being the unacceptable, and 1 is poor enough sportsmanship where the particular game in which you are playing is forfeited, and the game following will also be conceded in that particular sport. So, with our intramural sports rating system, if a team is given 2 ratings of 2 or below, which constitutes 2 unacceptable sportsmanship ratings, that team will be eliminated from further competition. If a team receives a 2 and an unacceptable rating during the playoffs, that team may be eliminated based on the review of the situation by the intramural sports staff. There are certain times within the intramural sports season when participants are ejected from the contest, match, or game. If and when this happens, all ejected players are currently ineligible to participate in all intramural sports activities until they set up a meeting with the particular sport manager. This must be done, and the meeting must take place before the participant may be allowed to play. In most cases, participants are suspended for 1 contest following the meeting with the sport manager. If a game is ended because of unsportsmanlike conduct, the team will have to forfeit that particular game, and they will also be forced to concede their next scheduled game. If this happens, and as a team representative you have any questions or concerns, you may contact the intramural sports office directly. As we continue, we would like to let you know about how to add players to your team's roster. They may be done in a variety of ways, including online with the scorekeeper and official at each activity location, or in the intramural sports office located in the Student Rec Center, room 207. Each participant must sign in and sign the waiver prior to playing in a game or contest. This waiver may be signed in the office, online, or with each scorekeeper or official at the activity location. No players may be added to your team's roster after the end of your regular season. We would also like to talk a little bit about coaches and how we proceed with them on your team. Coaches may be present and may coach. However, they must be a current student, faculty, or staff member. And you may only have a maximum of one coach per contest. They still must present their ECU 1 card and sign in to each score sheet as a coach. They are not allowed to call timeouts. They may not confer with officials. Their actions may affect your team's sportsmanship rating. Therefore, they are only just allowed to coach your team, and they may not confer with any official or argue about any judgment calls. As we continue, we now would like to talk a little bit about player eligibility and restricted players. A person and participant may play for only one team during that particular season. Therefore, if you are a member of a men's open flag football team, you are only eligible to play for that one men's team. You're not eligible to play for another men's team, and that includes a fraternity team. However, there is one exception for this policy, and that is the co-rec exception. You may play for a co-rec team in addition to that men's or women's team. So you may participate in a maximum of 2 teams, but one has to be co-rec and one has to be either men's or women's. As far as restricted players go, if a particular participant and player was listed on an ECU varsity roster at the collegiate level the previous academic year, or a club sport team member currently, you will see listed below the restrictions for those particular players. You may have one former varsity player the previous academic year, or you may have one academically ineligible varsity player, or you can have 2 current club sports players for the corresponding sport. You may not have all of these. You may only have one of the 3 that I just listed. Typically, we have a lot of problems with club sport players playing in their corresponding sport. We would now like to talk about our free agent list. The free agent list is designed for teams and individuals either looking for players to add to your team or for individuals looking to find a team. It's a fairly simple process. Please just visit our website at ecu.edu/intramurals. Click on the free agent tab, and then you will follow those instructions listed at the website to be added to the free agent list or to be able to find free agents to add to your particular team. There's also a couple ways for players who do not have teams to find a team, and that's just basically to go out to the field or court on a particular night that intramural sport is playing and ask around and to find a team that needs players. It's also a good idea to attend a team registration and or captain's meeting in which we try to gather all of the free agents that are available and to form a team that way. If you have any questions about either of those options, you can contact the Intramural Sports office directly. There are certain points in time during most intramural sports seasons in which weather comes into play. If there's any question in regards to whether or not the intramural games for a particular night will be played, we ask that you call the Campus Recreation and Wellness RAIN hotline at 252-328-6443. You also may check the intramural website, and typically we post updates on our Facebook and Twitter accounts. Please do not call the main intramural office, as we will direct you to those various mediums as we make a decision each day at 2 p.m. based on weather. There is also another option, which is our texting option, in which you can opt in when you fill out your IM League's web-based account, where we can send text messages about upcoming activities and weather updates via text message.
Okay, we're going to go a quick fact or fiction, and this has to do with participants and captains talking to referees and in regards to sportsmanship issues or any type of questions that they may have and the right way to go about that. So our first questions in regard to fact or fictions is, do intramural referees miss a lot of calls? And I already know what your answer is, and you're going to say that fact. They do miss a lot of calls, and that's true. It's in intramurals we do have a lot of young officials and some unexperienced officials, and so they're going to miss calls at any level. It doesn't matter if it's the NFL, NBA. They're always gonna miss calls. But that's just something that you have to get used to. And so if you expect to come to intramurals and there not be any missed calls, then I'm sorry to disappoint you, but that's not going to happen. But it's also they're going to miss calls on both sides, and so just remember that. And there are times when you just have to accept that they're going to miss calls, and there's nothing that you can do about it, and there's nothing that we can do about it. It's just human nature. You guys are going to make mistakes when you're playing. We're going to make mistakes when we're refereeing, so that just happens. Another thing is, do intramural referees know all the rules? That's fact or fiction. That is you're probably thinking that is fiction. And that would be true because intramural referees do not know all the rules. We wish they did, and we go over the rules with them in trainings, and we hope that they know all the rules, but in all reality, they don't. And so, honestly, that's why we have the protest policy in place. If they do misinterpret a rule and they are not properly enforcing a rule, that's when, if you know the rule, we want you to protest. We don't want to miss rules. It's going to happen. Well, we don't want it to happen. And so if you know that the rule's wrong, then you do have the ability to protest. Also, the next question. Captains are not allowed to ask questions during the game. Fact or fiction? That would be fiction. We do allow the captains to ask questions, but we also ask that you ask questions in a respectful way and in a respectful tone. If you're yelling at an official asking a question, that's completely different than going up to them and asking them respectfully for an answer. We're going to answer questions here and there, if you have them. We won't answer a question every play down the floor. We don't tell you how to play, how to shoot the ball or how to throw the ball. And if you have a question, we'll answer it as long as it's not every play. And so if it's every play, it might be a situation where we have to tell you, look, we're not going to answer a question on every play. But if you have an important question, we do want the referees to be able to talk to you. And if you have a situation where you ask an official a question and they do not answer you or they ignore you, then please let us know here at the Intramural Sports Office, and we'll definitely handle that because we want them to be able to talk to you, as long as it's not every play you asking a question. The next question, are players that are not captains cannot say anything to the referees? Is that fact or fiction? Some people would say that's fact. Actually, that's fiction. We're okay with a player that's not the captain asking a question to the referee, but once again, it needs to be a question that's appropriate. Also, it can't be all 10 players or all 11 players, depending on what sport it is, asking questions at the same time. If it's a situation where we're having sportsmanship issues, then we're only going to talk to the captain. But if it's a player wants has a question to ask the referee, we definitely will answer as long as it's in a respectful tone. So if your players have questions, as long as they ask the referees in a respectful manner, or we want to give them an answer. Now, once again, it can't be every play, but we do want the referees to answer their question if it's a legitimate question. It's not every time. Also, fact or fiction, referees will not allow participants to taunt and bait their opponents. That is a fact. We do not want the referees to allow any participants to taunt or bait their opponents. In this type of situation, typically it's when a team does something really well or is winning by a big margin and they're dancing around or whatever. And this is more to keep the two teams calm and for us not to have any sportsmanship issues. So in the past, we've had teams that have taunted and baited, and then the other team has reacted, and it's led to a fight. And so in this situation, we want teams to show sportsmanship, and so any type of taunting and baiting will be taken care of. If it has to be a technical foul, for example, in basketball, or an unsportsmanlike in football, or a yellow card in soccer, we want to take care of that so we don't have any situations where it puts the game in a volatile situation where we could have a type of fight or anything like that. And so talk to your team. We want you to have fun, but at the same time, we don't want you to taunt or bait your opponents.
Each captain is responsible to make sure that they, as well as their teammates, know the specific intramural sports rules for each activity that they participate in. All rules are available online at our website at ecu.edu/intramurals under the Sport Rules tab. This year, each captain will be asked specific rules questions based on the sport that they are signing up for. Those answers will be available on the rule sheets listed on the intramural site. All teams that qualify for playoffs will be put into a bracket based on the computer rankings. If the majority of players on your team have an academic or religious conflict, you may request specific dates and times that you are unable to play playoffs by sending an email to the sport manager for each specific sport. Please be aware that these requests must be made at least 48 hours prior to the release date for each of the playoff brackets. Please remember also that these are requests only and they are not guarantees, but our best effort will be made to accommodate your request. Now it's time to talk a little bit about the registration process. Now that you are almost finished listening to the presentation for the team registration meeting, you will now be allowed to take the quiz for each specific sport that you would like to sign up for at this particular time. All of the answers on the quiz have been given throughout this presentation. All other information is available at our website at ecu.edu/intramurals under the registration tab. Please let us know via email at imsports@ecu.edu or via phone at 328-1567 if you have any additional questions in regards to you registering your team for the sports of your choice. Lastly, we are always in need of sport officials and scorekeepers for the 30 to 35 different activities that we offer over the course of the academic year. There is no experience necessary. We offer competitive pay and flexible hours. If you or any of your teammates or spectators are interested in employment opportunities with us, please visit the Intramural Sports website and search for the Employment tab for additional information. That concludes our team registration meeting. At this time, please close out the video, take the quiz, follow the instructions under the registration tab at the Intramural Sports website, and register your team. If you have any, like I said earlier, if you have any questions, please let us know. Thanks for the opportunity that you give us to serve you as a student, faculty, or staff at East Carolina University, and good luck with your intramural sports season.